Good morning, YouTube! Me again. Today I am going to be doing my February wrap-up. It is a very small wrap-up, but a wrap-up nonetheless. So after a really good reading month in January, I've kind of failed at reading in February. I have read a grand total of 3.5 books, but I'm still gonna let you know what I think. So after so many people telling me that I really need to read it, I read Red Queen in February. So this book focuses on the Red Bloods and the Silver Bloods. The Silver Bloods have powers, the Reds do not. The Reds are kind of like mundanes, so to speak, and the Silver Bloods are the royalty of the world. And all of this sort of goes askew when Montgomery possesses the powers of a silver blood, yet her blood is red. So it's all about her sort of being integrated into silver society, being thrust from the world of poverty into a world of politics and courtly intrigue, and it is really, really good. I now see what all the fuss was about, although I feel like it was probably hyped up a lot, so I went into it with very high expectations, which I think were a little bit too high. I really, really enjoyed this, and now I really want the sequel, although I'm going to try and wait till it comes out in a trade paperback so I can get the same size as this so they won't look bad on my shelf. Superficial, I know, but I want them to be the same height. So I would totally recommend this for anybody who enjoys books or films about superhuman abilities, like X-Men maybe, because this just sort of feels like X-Men set in a courtly world with just, I don't know, it's just really, really good. Feel free to look up my review on Goodreads. I will link my channel or my account in the description. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to get the second book in the series, and also the sort of novella. I can't remember the name of it, but I've seen it around, but I think it's only released in America at the moment, but I really want to get my hands on that one as well. So yes, if any of you out there have people telling you, you should really read Red Queen, you've now got one more. You should really read Red Queen. Like, they're not kidding. Interrupting phone. They're not kidding when they say that this is a good book. This really, really is. And it's even a New York Times bestseller, so you can't go wrong. So next up, I read a contemporary novel, which is quite a rarity for me as I'm not a huge contemporary reader, but it was Beautiful Broken Things by Sarah Barnard. I spoke about this quite in depth actually in my book haul for February, I caught it. I spoke about this quite briefly in my book haul for February. It's a really, really interesting book, sort of focusing on how somebody with a mental illness or a sort of who's had a traumatic upbringing, how they affect those people around them, as it's told in the perspective of a girl called Caddy who befriends Suzanne, who has had a pretty rough childhood. So she's kind of deemed a bad influence on Caddy, but Caddy is persistent in trying to help her, being there for her friend, and she is a truly, truly lovely girl. Now this book sort of holds a special place in my heart because it is written and set in Brighton, which is actually where I've grown up and lived, so a lot of the places that she describes in here or the things that she references are things that I've visited, or like the school in here. I've gone to a school with horrible green uniform and an all-girls school with really cruel girls at times. So I feel like this has a strong connection to my heart, and also I think more people need to like write or read about these kinds of things because they're not as talked about in YA as other things are. But again, most of the time when you read things about mental illness or people with traumatic upbringings and such, it's usually from the perspective of that person, and it doesn't really tackle the way that it affects those around them, which this book does beautifully. And it's such a quick read as well. I literally picked it up and read it all in one day whilst just live tweeting the whole thing, because apparently I do that now. That's how much I was enjoying this book. It's also got such a beautiful cover. I've been holding it this whole time, but like, it's so shiny and just, I think this is like one of my favourite covers that I've seen in 2016. So this is definitely going to be like a frontward facing book on my shelves, I believe, for a while at least. So yeah, I totally recommend Beautiful Broken Things if you enjoyed things such as Looking for Alaska or Paper Towns or just like a whole host of John Green's books. I feel like it would be a good book to read if you like his work. So I also read The Replacement by Brenna Yovanoff. Now this book I only picked up, not gonna lie, because it has quotes on the front from two of my favourite authors, Lauren Kate and Maggie Stiefvater, so I kind of expected great things for them to love it this much. Now I was slightly disappointed with this book. I felt like her writing style, just for me personally, I found it quite difficult to read, so I was finding myself rereading passages to make sure I hadn't missed things, but the actual premise of the story itself I found interesting and it was engaging. I did enjoy this book, but I just found it a lot harder to read than other books. Looking back at it, it's not a book that I would reread, but yeah, it also has a really odd cover. Like, I don't know, I feel like it's just such an obscure cover with Guy sort of on the front just chilling. Follows a boy called Mackie who is a replacement, which is kind of like a changeling, where these people take children from their beds and replace them with shells of their own kind, the children that they don't really want to bring up themselves, and they take these human children to sort of be sacrificed, and in their place lives the changeling. So Mackie Doyle is sort of an anomaly who's made it through childhood, as most changelings don't, and he is starting to die in the real world. So he has to find out where he's come from and try to get them to help him sort of live on, because otherwise this guy is not going to be around for much longer. So I really enjoyed the underground world in this book, but again, it was just kind of difficult to read. I think I gave this like a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, I want to say. Like I said, not my favourite read, but still enjoyable. So the last book that I'm going to talk about is Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Now I've not finished this book, I'm about 2/3 of the way through, and I finally started the series, The Lunar Chronicles. People have been talking about this for so long. I am so late to the game, it's unreal. And this is one of those books where it's been overhyped so much, but it actually lives up to that hype. It is a sort of modern retelling of Cinderella, where instead of just a normal sort of serving girl, she is in fact part cyborg. Of course, why not? Cinderella the cyborg. So I'm up to a place in this book where she has already met the prince and she is helping him fix a android, and I'm quite interested to see if her sister, who right at the start of the book is diagnosed with this disease that's very prevalent in the book. I'm quite interested to see what happens to her sister, what happens with the Lunar Queen, what happens just in the entire series, quite frankly. I really need to get my hands on the others, and even though I've not finished this, it's such a good book that I just wanted to like talk about it for a moment with you guys. So like I said, this is a very small wrap up. I didn't read that much in February. I've been too busy as I started back up at uni on the 3rd of February. So I've been very busy kind of studying and writing essays and all of that stuff that takes away my reading time. Yay! I hope to start reading a lot more though. Oh, actually, I did also read The Initiate by Laura Fox, who is a debut up-and-coming Of Tomes author. So The Initiate's cover isn't actually released as I film this, but it is being released as part of a whole host of things by Benjamin Of Tomes on the 1st of March. So if this video is up after then, I'm not sure when I'm putting this up, you will be able to see the cover. If you head over onto Of Tomes website, it is a really, really good cover. I've already seen it and I love it so much. Literally, I want it to be on my shelves. It's definitely frontwards facing book worthy, if that makes any sense. So it follows a girl who is in the Antarctic underground subterranean research facility as the world has kind of gone all screwed up, as people just can't live on the earth anymore, or so they think. So she lives underground with her mother and her friends and all of this. She goes to school. It is this beautiful, beautiful book, literally. Laura's writing style when she talks about the Antarctic, it literally makes me want to visit the Antarctic, and even though I would probably freeze so much and complain about the cold, she makes it sound so beautiful that, like, I didn't know ice could be this interesting or pretty. I've actually picked up other books focusing on Antarctic purely because of this novel, because I didn't know that Antarctic books could be so interesting. So I feel like if you enjoyed perhaps the Maze Runner, you would really like this, as it has aspects of that whole hidden society keeping things from you, although Maze Runner is more dystopian and obviously Initiate is a lot colder, to say the least, focusing in Antarctica. It has that same kind of control over everything kind of aspect that the Maze Runner has. And also you get to follow this girl as she tries to figure out what on earth is going on. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to read a lot more in March, as I really have been off my reading game this month. But I'm currently halfway through 2 books, and that is Cinder and then Inherited by Freedom Matthews, another upcoming of Tomes author, and I'm super excited to see what happens in the second half of these books. So I will see you next time. Bye!